Thank you, Madam Chairman, and Ranking Member and members of the committee. It's my honor to testify today. I serve as the president of the Alaska Federation of Natives, a long-term president. I want to first thank you for recognizing our long-term congressman who passed away on March 18th. He was in his 25th term, 49 years in that distinguished body. I don't think that we've ever really remembered anybody else serving in that position on that. And so I want to thank you for allowing him to lie in the statutory hall, the respect that was given. And we are working with our governor on some possible opportunities, naming opportunities to be appropriately respectful of his contributions to rebuilding our state on that. But thank you for all the courtesies. And he was a character. We know that there were many things that people liked and little controversies and so on that, but he had a kind heart and he really, truly, deeply loved the Native people of Alaska and across the country and did his best. I also want to thank you for the Congress's support in the CARES funding and the American Rescue and the infrastructure on that. These are historic levels of funding and effort directed in our communities on that, and they really are making a difference. When we first were assessing models on the COVID, the medical models of how that would impact our population, we were scared to death. The worst case model had projections of deaths of 14,000 of our people just in Anchorage and Mat-Su within 3 months. Fortunately, through the interventions of the health system and everybody's efforts and just the trajectory of the virus itself, we didn't have that level of death. I believe we've had about about 250,000 cases in our state, and the death rate has been hovering, I believe, about a little under 2,000 on that. But again, we threw everything into supporting our tribal health system. Everybody threw everything into working cooperatively with the state. For the first time ever, we had our governor request a unified command from the Secretary of Defense. And so we had a very streamlined response working with the federal and the state and FEMA and everybody. And I really, truly believe it was everybody working together with a good deal of luck that we survived what we did. But we are putting those resources to good use. We're repairing and replenishing our health system and building back up our capabilities. For the record, I'd like my written comments to be considered of some of the regional priorities up here. I reiterate the need for further funding for public safety and bring to your attention, we have over 60 of our remote rural communities that have no on-the-ground public safety presence at all. And in this security climate that we're dealing with just across our border, a very aggressive Russia, and seeing what's happening in Ukraine and the additional national security challenges up here, it's totally unacceptable not to have public safety and domain awareness all around our vast land. So I really want to urge you to support increasing the public safety and making sure it gets to where it's needed, but also communications, supporting expanding communications. Historic levels of funding put out into expansion of broadband, and we just need to see that's deployed wisely. One need that we see on that is the need for coordinating mechanisms between tribal funding and funding that goes to the state on that. There's also historic levels going into state governments, and we want to make sure there's no gaps. And so focus on setting up coordinating mechanisms of federal, state, tribal is really, really much needed, both on broadband as well as in infrastructure spending on that. Again, we know these are historic levels and we don't want to waste a dollar. We want to stretch them as far as we can. But unless we're coordinating all together on that, the risk of things falling through the cracks are high. Again, in prioritizing resiliency, climate change is hitting our communities. We see high levels of erosion. We have multiple forums that we've had on the damages to erosion, both to our airports and to our hospitals and our clinics and our military's erosion concerns, housing, community buildings, the erosion, the melting of the permafrost, the release of methane gas, lots of challenges in the climate change that need to be addressed. And again, the resiliency and adaptation to change is going to be critical. Another one I want to bring to your attention is the need on food security. We recently had 15 of our hunters that were stranded as they didn't get the fish in their communities and went further afield to hunt for beluga whales and seals and got stranded because of the freeze up on the rivers on that. And they were needing to fill their home freezers and food sources for their community. So the climate change also impacts greatly food security and the ability for people to continue their way of life. So I want to bring that to your attention. Also want to encourage you to support public-private partnerships. That is the way that we're going to make our leap forward on economic development and economic recovery. We can't do it all on government funding. We need to be able to reach out and build these partnerships, both tribal partnerships with government, but also bringing in other private sectors in that. So with that, I want to leave you with one thought. One of the most effective federal models for moving federal resources to our communities is the compacting model. I want to urge you to expand the legal ability for compacting to occur in other departments, such as Department of Justice, dealing with public safety, but also Department of Education. We have asked for a solicitor's opinion on using the Department of Interior's compacting authority to flow other resources into compacting from other departments and are awaiting that. We are in the process.
Can I get you to wrap up? I'm sorry to interrupt.
My final comment is urge you to support federal, state, tribal compacting. We have just gotten a education compacting demonstration model out of our state Senate on that, and it will be among the first federal, state, tribal compacts. And we really do think that there's some coordination and some innovation that can occur in that. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you this morning.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time. Next, we have Mr. Serrell Smokey, the president of Intertribal Council of Nevada. Please go ahead with your remarks. Thank you.